I started the recording.
This meeting is
And
being
let me give
recorded.
you guys the share screen. There you go. So you guys can share the screen. If you want me to share it as well, you can let me do it, but you guys have got it. So take it away, guys.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Councilman Narenheim. Appreciate you letting us come back on and do another e-bike presentation for you guys tonight. So we've done this presentation a few times. We did it once for City Council, Public Safety Commission, and we did it for Councilman Narenheim's in-person meeting as well. Yeah, I have with me tonight Lieutenant Corey King. And Corey is lieutenant in charge of our Special Operations Bureau. My name is John Naylor. I'm a captain, and I oversee the Special Operations Bureau of the Police Department. Part of what we oversee is traffic, along with several other things, but traffic is one of our main ones. So what we'll do tonight is we'll go over our e-bike presentation. It gives you basically the current state of affairs with e-bikes and what some of our enforcement efforts have been. Some of the history behind e-bikes. But when we talk about e-bikes, it's also important to talk about the various bike paths in our city, the different classes of e-bikes, some of the regulations, some of the education and outreach that we've done, and then what we're doing moving forward. So we'll go ahead and start it off. Let me share my screen real quick so you guys can see the PowerPoint would probably help. One second. Okay, are you guys able to see that?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so again, we'll talk about the history, the bike paths in the city, e-bikes, some regulation, education outreach, and then moving forward, what we're doing. So the city of Redondo Beach is a welcoming community, particularly for those who choose to utilize bicycles for exercise or transportation. Redondo Beach has implemented a bicycle paths and lanes throughout the city, which connect commuters and recreationists from one part of the city to the next. In 2015, the city of Redondo Beach completed the construction of a bicycle lane along North Harbor Drive, which gained national attention. Los Angeles Magazine described the project as one of the nation's best bike lanes and rated it number 9 on a list of the top 10 bike lanes in the nation. Electric bikes have become much more prevalent since 2020. Many believe that since the onset of the novel coronavirus and the push for more environmentally friendly transportation options, the electric bicycle has become more popular. So Redondo Beach is now home to storefronts which sell electric bicycles. One long-standing business in the city, which primarily furnished pedal bicycles for sale, is closed, and now new businesses which primarily sell electric bicycles has opened in its place. So due to their ease and use of accessibility, electric bikes are used by people of all ages, although some of the laws governing their use differ based on age. There's some confusion about electric bicycles, and then it's compounded due to the type of electric bicycles also available in the areas where they may be lawfully ridden. So the city of Redondo Beach has 4 different types of bike lanes or bike paths, which may be accessed by electric or pedal bicycle powered bicycles. So there's a class 1 bike path, which is separated from vehicle traffic. However, it is shared space with pedestrians. An example of a class 1 bike path is at the beach, adjacent to the sand and north of Redondo Beach bike path, which traverses north and south in the 2,500 blocks of Robinson Street and Rockefeller. There's a class 2 bike lane. That bike lane is separated from the roadway by a painted line only, and pedestrians must stay outside of the bike lane. Examples of a class 2 bike path are on Torrance Boulevard or Grant Avenue. Then there's class 3 bike lanes. Those are where bicycles are mixed with other vehicles. Signage may exist, however, painted lines do not delineate the lanes. An example of a Class 3 bicycle lane is on the Esplanade from the 5 to the 600 block. Those paths are less frequent in our city as they offer less protection for bicyclists. And then there's a Class 4 bicycle lane. That's where bicycles are separated from pedestrians and vehicles by a physical barrier. Vehicle parking is prohibited on both sides of the path. An example of a Class 4 bike path is on Harbor Drive between Pacific Avenue and Redondo Street. So there's also 3 different types of e-bikes. So a Class 1 e-bike is a pedal-assisted bicycle, which operates at slow speed. The bicycle is equipped with an electric motor, however, only will provide motorized assistance when the operator is pedaling. The Class 1 electric bicycle will not accelerate any faster than 20 miles per hour. A Class 1 electric bicycle may be operated on any roadway or path that a pedal bicycle can be operated on. Riders 17 years or younger must wear a helmet. Then there's a Class 2 electric bicycle that is equipped with a throttle to assist with pedal power. Also, the bicycle has an electric motor which can exclusively propel the bicycle without the rider having to pedal. A Class 2 electric bicycle motor will deactivate upon reaching 20 miles per hour. These electric bicycles can be operated on the same roadway or paths as pedal bicycles. And again, riders 17 years of age or younger must wear a helmet. And then the Class 3 electric bicycle is equipped with an electric motor, which assists the rider to pedal up to a speed of 28 miles per hour. The rider must pedal to utilize the electric motor. The operator of a Class 3 electric bicycle must be a minimum of 16 years of age and wear a helmet and cannot transport a passenger regardless of age. These electric bicycles are prohibited to be operated on a Class 1 bike path. So there's lots of vehicle codes which address bicycles and electric bicycles on our roadway. And a lot of them are very similar to the laws regarding cars on our roadway. So I won't go over each one, but there are some that are specific to bicycles, and so there's like 21-204 subsection B covers riding doubles. That's an operator shall not allow anyone to ride doubles on a bicycle unless they're on separate independent seats. Bicyclists may not wear a headset covering both ears. All bicyclists must stop at all posted stop signs as well, just like a vehicle. The City of Redondo Beach also has enacted the following municipal code sections governing the use of bicycles in the city. Some of the more common municipal code violations related to bicycle operations in the city are 3-1.03, that's prohibited bicycle, skateboard, and roller skate riding on certain sidewalks, ramps, and parking structures. These areas, such as sidewalk along the Esplanade, require posted signage. 4-35.14, that's roller skating, inline skating, and bicycle riding in parks is prohibited. And then 12-2.07, that's bicycle riding is prohibited on any portion of any pier, wharf, public area, parking structure, or city-owned property where posted. So I'll turn it over at this point to Lieutenant King, who can talk about some of the engagement and education that we've been doing thus far.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
So a little bit about our engagement and education. So bicycles and motorists are generally required to share the roadway. So the California Vehicle Code and Redondo Beach Municipal Code provide the framework for both for safely to coexist. So violations of the codes could cause unsafe roadway conditions and will likely result in the issuance of citations. Along with enforcement, the police department continues to engage the community in an effort to educate the public regarding laws related to bicycle use. So the police department has posted electric signboards in both North and South Redondo Beach to remind the community to be mindful of the rules of the road, such as to stop at all posted stop signs. Our school resource officers worked collaboratively with Redondo Union High School students to make a video which was posted to YouTube, educating on e-bike use. The video describes electric bike and pedal bike rules of the road. And additionally, officers have disseminated educational material to students regarding bicycle safety. A sign with bicycle safety tips has also been posted in the bike rack area on the high school campus. The police department recently applied for and later received a grant in the amount of $150,000 from the Office of Traffic Safety. The City Council recently appropriated the grant funds to fiscal year 22-23 operating budget. The funding will assist in paying police officers to, amongst other details, conduct bicycle enforcement and education. Police officers have conducted 2 community meetings in the city, as well as provided presentations both at the police department's community engagement board and the Public Safety Commission to discuss current education enforcement efforts related to pedal and electric bicycles. Information bulletins are regularly distributed to the community through the Neighborhood Watch program, and press releases are provided to the media to reach a greater viewing audience. Previously using grant funding, Redondo Beach police officers conducted bicycle educational rodeos in all the middle and elementary schools in the district. These rodeos taught bicycle safety to the students and provided safety inspections of bicycles. And also helmets were provided to those in need at no cost. So next you're going to see we conducted a community survey in regards to these e-bikes. So the police department regularly conducts a community survey to assist in determining where to focus our resources. An electric bike community survey was conducted over several weeks to determine what the public concerns were regarding the electric bike usage. So in that first graph, to what extent do you see e-bikes as a safety concern in Redondo Beach? 40% responded they don't know. 12% responded not at all, and 18% to a large extent. In the second graph, in the past year, have you or someone you personally know been involved in an e-bike collision? 79% said responded not someone that they knew or themselves had been involved in an e-bike collision. 16% know someone who has been involved in an e-bike collision, and 5% have been involved in a collision themselves. So next up, we'll talk about some of our enforcement that we've conducted. So since 2020, 501 bicycle enforcement stops were made in the city. As a result of those enforcement stops, 221 citations were issued. During the same time period, 139 collisions involving bicycles have been reported. Our record management system is not capable of providing specific information between bicycle and electric bicycle statistics. Therefore, the information provided encompasses all bicycles. So the new system that we transferred over to, again, it doesn't differentiate between the two. So that's all of them together. So a little bit about the city ordinance. So presently, the city of Hermosa Beach has a city ordinance related to electric bicycle use. The ordinance prohibits an electric bicycle from being utilized under power on the bicycle path. The ordinance does not address any other portion of the city of Hermosa Beach. The cities of Torrance, Palos Verdes, Manhattan Beach, El Segundo, Gardena, and Hawthorne do not have any city ordinances in place which regulate electric bicycle use. Bicycles are required to follow traffic laws as they pertain to bicycle operations. Drafting an ordinance to establish more restrictive guidelines on the use of electric bicycles may encourage more rider safety, especially in specified areas. For instance, an ordinance may prohibit electric bicycles in certain areas, such as school zones during school hours, and or certain class bike paths. An ordinance could regulate the speed in which a rider may ride an electric bicycle in certain areas, such as shopping districts, bike paths, or school zones. An ordinance may also reinforce existing laws, such as prohibiting juveniles from riding an electric bicycle without a helmet or after 10 p.m. The city of Redondo Beach has been instrumental in developing a culture of bicycle riding in the community to both enhance ways to exercise and as a mode of clean transportation. While the police department and other city staff have provided a robust response to bicycle safety, the surge of electric bicycle use in the city of Redondo Beach may require the police department to alter its response in education, engagement, and enforcement. So that's basically the presentation, kind of that in a nutshell that we presented at the council meeting. Just to add a little bit more of what has gone on since that. So currently we're been working with Beach Cities Health District and partnering with them to come up with additional education for e-bikes. Along with them, we've been partnering with the school district, who's been fantastic in helping us out, and different ways of getting information out to the youth and also parents in regards to these e-bikes. We've done a major push on education with these e-bikes. I'm sure Council Member Narenheim will probably talk about, but we're also addressing putting some signage up around the high school for addressing riding on the sidewalk. And again, this is something that obviously it exploded here in our city, but not only in our city, but in a lot of different communities, this e-bike use. I just got done with a 3-month management course, and I was sitting around with lieutenants from all over California. And so I brought up the topic, hey, anybody got e-bike issues? And everybody's raising their hand and kind of going through the same stuff. And I got to tell you, talking with these other agencies, our city has done quite a bit compared to others. So I'm pretty proud of what we've done. Are we there yet? And at the end, no, we're not. But we're working in that direction to, one, try to make things safer for everyone, but also, you know, these are the new things. These are the bikes that are out, and you know, we encourage people to do this, but you know, we also have to make sure it's safe for everybody. So, Councilman, I'll turn it back over to you. And
yeah, thank you. So to add what you just said, you know, one of the things I talked about, like actually my community meeting when I opened it up, was, you know, when I came on in 2017, only had like 3 to 5% of the bicycle lanes of the South Bay Bicycle Master Plan actually built. And since then, when I leave in 2025 and termed out, the South Bay Bicycle Master Plan, I think, will be built around 80–85%, I want to say, right in there. We had a community meeting, we had a council meeting back in October on that. And we've been striping a lot in South Redondo. So Catalina has a bike lane. We're working on a bike lane on Nob Hill that goes east-west. A lot of other streets in District 2, District 3 and 5, 4, 5, all across Redondo Beach. And of course, a lot of bicycle racks in Riviera Village. We've been installing a ton of bicycle racks in Riviera Village. You know, what's important here is Riviera Village has more people going there than ever before. And one of the reasons why parking hasn't been as big of an issue as it could have been is because people are taking bikes, and a lot of e-bikes. And we're installing those bike racks and other bike-friendly items. You talked about, Corey, a second ago about high school signage. One of the effects that we had from the council meeting, a regular person came down and says, hey, you know, there's so many kids here with bikes. They're all using the sidewalks, and so riding a bike on Redondo Beach is is illegal. There was a question here in the common state or local laws. We have a local ordinance, but in order for us to enforce that no riding bicycle on a sidewalk, we have to have it properly signed. And I think, Corey, you mentioned correctly that, we're not pushing people, going to push kids onto PCH or any other major streets, but we don't want kids on the sidewalks around the high school. And we are immediately, started doing some signage around the high school. And we had our school board, Rolf Strutzenberg, there, and he talked about, they went out and did a bike count, and they wanted to count how many electric bikes. And what they ended up doing is counting how many non-electric bikes there were at the school, at the high school. So it's definitely has exploded in usage, and we're reacting. We've been ahead of the curve, but it's also been growing at a much faster rate. So Corey, there was a question in here regarding the late state or local laws. I think there was a mix of different state or local laws. Or John, you want to take that one or two?
Yeah, so I'm reading a lot of these questions in the chat. So yes, there is no federal law that I'm aware of, but there is state and local laws regarding vehicle traffic, as well as e-bikes. And so e-bikes and bicycles, pedal bicycles, they all fall under the vehicle code. So the vehicle code is state law. So if you run a stop sign in your car or you're speeding, that's California state vehicle code. And so if you run a stop sign on your bicycle or your e-bike, that's a violation of state law. Now our city can be more restrictive. They can do ordinances, city ordinances. And so some of those ordinances we have in place, and I mentioned them in the PowerPoint. Those are like, you can't ride a bicycle, electric or pedal, on a sidewalk if it's properly posted that bicycle riding is prohibited. And so an example of that is down on the Esplanade. If we wanted to create more city ordinance, then the city council could enact that ordinance. And so that's what we did for around the high school, because many of the complaints were coming in around the high school area. But yeah, so there is state and local law that impacts bicycle and e-bikes. One of the comments I see a lot here is that you should be 16 years of age, or you should have a license before you can ride one of these. I may agree with you, but that's not what the law is. Now, our city government may be able to enact an ordinance that says that. Now, it would be in conflict with state law, and so I think our city attorney would have to weigh in on that. But presently, you do not need to have a license to ride a bicycle or an electric bicycle.
And there was a comment here, the different classes of bike lanes and different classes of e-bikes, that's all state law, correct?
That is, yeah, so that's governed under the state law. And so that's what makes all of this information so dry and frustrating, because it's very convoluted. Not only are there various, 4 different types of bike lanes and bike classes and shareways, but there's also 3 different classes of e-bikes. So it gets very confusing to deal with and to understand and to discuss.
There's a lot of comments in here regarding new laws and creation of new laws. And I understand what everyone's saying here in the comments, almost being hit by kids on e-bikes and kids driving through stop signs and kids not wearing helmets and double riding. Those are all laws that are currently on the books. And, John, you talked a minute ago about enforcement. We've done a lot of education and enforcement. We've written a lot of tickets. Can you talk a little bit more about how, the enforcement actions we've been taking on the Esplanade separately than e-bikes? Because isn't an e-bike, if someone's on an e-bike or regular bike and they blow through a stop sign, that's a violation. If they're double riding and not wearing a helmet, that's a violation. So a new law is not going to happen, but we are doing enforcement. It's just there's a lot of these bikes out there. I mean, is that a correct assumption to make, that there's a lot of bikes out there and we just can't be everywhere, or what's yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I think we're seeing more bike riding than we ever have in the past, which is great. And a lot of these comments have to do with children and juveniles riding e-bikes, and I agree with that. However, when we discuss that, then I'll get in my car to drive home from the station, and I'll see adults doing the same thing. So I don't know who the majority of the blame goes with. Is it the kids or is it the adults? Because I see plenty of it. But specifically on the Esplanade, we go out and direct our police officers to go out there and do some enforcement and some education. And, no joke, we can walk away, after several hours and write 59, 60 some odd citations to bicyclists for running through stop signs. And then go back out there the next day and do the same. It's Redondo Beach is a very bike friendly community. By far has, so many bike paths and opportunities for people, and really encourages it. But part of it is education and enforcement by the police department. And then the other portion is education and enforcement by families, to really educate their children about safe operation of electric bikes.
Okay. Sheila Lamb, your hand is up. Get you. You have a question. You can unmute yourself and fire away.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I have about 4 questions. Of the 139 collisions since 2020, how many hospitalizations did you have?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know accurately the number of how many people have gone to the hospital.
So is that information readily available to the city attorney, and would that it seems to me that would be information that would be valuable for parents to know, as well as the city council to know. So again, do you know if that information is readily available to?
It's not readily available, but it is available. To try and decipher through hundreds of reports to find out who's been transported to a hospital versus who's got a minor injury is quite a feat, would take quite a bit of staff time. And I don't know for sure how long it would take the police department to get that information, or really what we would do with it. To me, if there is a traffic collision, whether an injury or not, it's significant.
Yes, I'm just wondering, since it's such a big problem, such an important issue, another way around that would be, or another way to approach it would be sort of a collaboration with local hospitals. But I'm not going to belabor that. I think this is data that is missing in the conversation, because especially with youth, and I'll just leave it at that, but I believe that hospitalizations are an important data point that brings home an important message, that maybe in terms of your education, that's not information that's really getting to the youth. Youth tend not to listen to authority, just, developmentally. That's not something that is written into their DNA at youth. So that kind of data or pictures, right? Data or pictures might be helpful to you in your in your pathway towards fully educating the residents. My second question is, have you set a target for reduction as a result of your education, your implementation of your education program? Is it tied at all to any sort of outcome?
as far as a target, I don't really, we don't have as far as a set target. I mean, this is a constant, ever-changing and evolving thing. And again, there's no rule. Like we're on the fly trying something. This doesn't work. We're trying different approaches. And just to jump a little bit back on what you were talking about with the youth, completely agree with you. They're not listening to us, right? So one of the nice things partnering with Beach Cities Health District is they have a youth coalition. And so we're using them as basically kind of the spearhead from youth to youth, and for education purposes. So again, like we did this video, the high school has a great kind of like this news channel that they do. And so they did a story on e-bikes. So again, they're pushing it out. And so we're trying to spearhead using social media tactics, and again, using youth to help drive that message and help us. We totally see how that is helping. And something else too is another tactic that we're using is trying to work with the different bike shops, these shops that are actually selling these bicycles. And again, using Beach Cities Health District, Bicycle Coalition, and basically trying to come up with some type of education that we could go into the bike shop and be like, hey, can this be presented to parents when they're buying these super expensive bicycles, on education on that. Again, we're trying to work with the bike shops, and they could tell us to go pound sand and not come in their shop, and do that. So again, we're trying a lot of different angles on that, because clearly we're not going to citation our way out of this problem. It's not going to work. And
completely agree with that. And but I think what I'm hearing you say is that you don't really have any way to measure whether your education program is, and it's legitimate, of course, but you don't have any way of measuring whether your education plan has any effect.
Well, I would think that maybe by seeing a decline in accidents with youth, if that, or decline in citations, enforcement, I think would be a measurable mark.
Yes. Are you in the process of doing that? Are you looking at those measurements from 2020 to 2022 and sort of gauging whether there's a cause and effect in terms of reduction due to education?
So Sheila, we're not analyzing data related to e-bike enforcement, to be totally honest with you. We're not.
Yeah.
Short answer. We analyze data on robberies, burglaries, crime trends, things like that, crime analysis. I can tell you this. We are working with the schools to try and fit in curriculum into their 6 periods that they have each day. We try to fit it into PE. We work with people like Jim Hannon, Bicycle Coalition, Beach Cities Health District to make all this work. We are not analyzing data on e-bikes, just like we don't analyze data on stop sign violations. That's just not what we're doing.
Sure.
I agree with you. It's important to do, but we just don't have the ability to do it.
Mm-hmm. So I just have one last question.
Let me just add one more thing. What we're
Sure.
trying to accomplish is to get as much education as we can out there. So we're trying to fit all this in with the schools. We're trying to fit this in with the COG. We're trying to fit this in with various places that it's never fit into before. This is all new.
Okay, thank you. My last question is this. Jim Hannon has mentioned to me that one alternate solution is to allow bicyclists, including e-bicyclists, to not stop at stop signs. That the vehicle would what is the word? Not well. Let me just repeat that. And Jim, I see, is on the Zoom, so he can clarify that. But that bicyclists be allowed to ride through a stop sign. So and he referenced another location, I believe it's another city or another country that has done that. That might be another angle in order to reduce the collisions. So I'll leave with that. I see Jim has his hand up. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's a hard problem. It's a hard problem.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Real quick, the question came up. You talked about a minute ago about citations, and a lot of people are talking about numbers. I'm just going to bring up a number so everyone understands. Whatever that number is, with increase of 10,000 more electric bike usages, right? By default, then when you have that significant increase, you're going to get a lot more citations and accidents just because there's such a significant higher use. But with that said, there's a couple of questions here regarding the enforcement actions. Corey, did you guys pull numbers regarding the what is it? Not enforcement. Give a citation and actual conviction, and is there a diversion program for kids so they don't get a ticket? So that's a kind of common occurrence here. Rather than giving them, they get a ticket, but rather than a prosecution on their record, they get a diversion program.
Yeah, John, do you have that?
Yeah.
I think you have that stat.
Yeah, so that's a regular program through juvenile traffic here in the South Bay Court. Is juveniles go to diversion. So we do have some numbers since March of this year. There's been 10 cases that were referred to diversion. 4 of those were e-bikes. So what that means is that I think when it comes down to the choice of either taking a fine or going to diversion, the majority of people are pay the fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Mary, your hand is up. You want to unmute yourself? You go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah. I am just wondering, how does the PD plan to get their enforcement stepped up? There's been a big sign on the Esplanade, one of those big ones that light up. Bikes are strictly enforced. It's been sitting there for probably a month. It's a joke. Bicyclists, just e-bikes, regular bikes, anybody just drives right through it. There's not a police officer in sight near the sign ever. Last week, I was on the corner of Catalina and Avenue C. There was an officer in his SUV stopped, and people were crossing when a bicyclist was weaving through and didn't even stop. The police officer just went on his radio and said, "Oh, your bicycles have to stop." And the guy just drove up. He didn't even stop him down the street to give him a citation or a warning or anything. I mean, this just keeps going on. And I think the reason we have this is because I know the police officers are busy with crimes and stuff like that, but just like they do with cars, like sometimes we have people from other cities on the Catalina and Avenue C that come, and then they just do like this thing, enforcement for cars that don't come to a full stop. So unless we're going to have the police visible and assigned to these bicyclists, then it's kind of a joke that we have any laws, because they're just ignoring them. Because down the Esplanade, most people think it's a joke. I mean, a lot of times I'm crossing the street, they come around the corner and you almost get hit because they're at such high speeds. So my question is, what are the plans to step up the enforcement?
So the plan is to, is to continue essentially what we are doing. And I'm sorry that you don't see the enforcement, but I can tell you, we've literally written hundreds and hundreds of citations down on the Esplanade. We do put out the electric board signs. We're hoping that it will impact some people. Some people will read it and actually think that a police officer is posted there. The reality is, there's well over 2,000 stop signs in all of Redondo Beach. And we cannot post a police officer at every stop sign. We have 94 sworn police officers in our city, and they all don't work the same day. So the plan is, we have our traffic unit. We really want the public to, call in and let us know when they see people running bicycle stop signs or there's a problem area, so we can focus our attention there. We do put out public surveys as well. But we try the best we can, and we try to put our resources out where we think in our 6 square mile city the most traffic violations are. And you're right, a great number of them are down on the Esplanade, and we do continue to
Well,
put our resources down there.
I'm just saying, I take a walk every single day because
Yeah.
I live in the area right there.
Yeah.
And not once did I see a police officer stop a bicyclist. And this particular one, when it was so obvious, the police officer just didn't bother. And I thought, well, people seeing this just think, oh, it's a joke.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And what I can tell you is we will, we'll continue to focus our efforts down there, and we'll try and send some more people down there, all times of the day and night. So hopefully you'll see them down there as well. I can tell you, I was at the Riviera meeting last 2 months ago, and they were saying that they didn't see enough police officers walking down there. And so everybody wants to see a police officer somewhere. So we've been trying to put police officers on foot down in the Riviera and down in North Redondo. And so there's always going to be another hot spot that we need to put enforcement at. And I know that the Esplanade is one of them. And I can tell you that we are trying to get officers out there and to work those intersections, those stop signs. And in lieu of having an actual body to put out there and see people run a stop sign and write them a citation, we do use signboards. We try to do education that way. We're kind of relying on the public to, use common sense. And when you come up to a stop sign, stop at it. Or if you see a lighted sign that says, police are out doing enforcement, maybe take that as a hint to actually stop at the stop signs, but it's tough to do.
Miss Mary?
Thank you.
Miss Mary?
Yes.
What area do you see the biggest issue on the Esplanade that you could?
Well, I mean, I live on Catalina and Avenue C, so
Okay.
I all the way going south, and then if you go a little bit north to Nob Hill, that I'm talking about both Catalina and the Esplanade.
So the entire thing, not one specific area. I'm taking
Well,
some.
I mean, there's, the big cross street is right on Catalina and Avenue C. So many pedestrians cross right there because they go down, to the beach because there's, the steps and everything. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of pedestrian traffic right there. And the amount of bicycles that weave right through the pedestrians as they're trying to cross, with their children and their dogs. I mean, you stand there and you just cringe.
Right.
And the speeding on the Esplanade is unbelievable. Like I said, sometimes you're just crossing the street and somebody comes at a speed around the corner on say Nob Hill. And it's just like, you just miss them by you can feel the breeze.
No, I absolutely appreciate everything you said. I've taken copious notes. So I oversee our traffic division. So first thing tomorrow, I meet with all the guys. We brief in the morning. I'll definitely relay your concerns, and we'll try to get some more motor officers down there for you.
Just a quick question. Do you still have bicyclists that go to drive down, police officers that ride bicycles on the bike path down by the beach?
Yeah. So we just recently got allotted 2 more e-bikes. So our school resource officers, actually, we've got them on e-bikes now. One for maneuverability in and around the school, but also to interact and for education with the kids. Seeing how popular that worked out for us, we've actually got 2 more e-bikes being built right now. And so, yes, so the goal is once we receive those, I'm going to be having our community service unit and our quality of life unit jumping on those bikes and getting down there to where, yes, we can have a lot more face-to-face interaction with those. So, yes.
That's wonderful. I mean, I really appreciate the police department, and I just want our city to be, you know, safe and what I've known it to be for 35 years.
Right. No, and you know, I understand the frustration, and again, we're all on the same team on this, and
Exactly.
we applaud your input, and you know, we just, you know, we wanted to let you guys know we are trying, and I wish I could snap my finger and have this problem solved, but we can't. But we're doing the best we can. Like I said, this is constantly evolving and changing, and the community's input and the community's help is absolutely fantastic. So again, you know, we thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Joe Sims, you are next. And after that, Jim Hannon. So Joe Sims, go ahead and there you go.
How you doing?
Good.
A couple of questions here. This concerns electric bikes and manual bikes, specifically on Catalina and the back roads. Bikes are sometimes, I thought, when I read the rules, that if there's 2 people, they should be riding single file. But so many times I see them driving parallel on the right side of the road, which is taking up the right side of the road. And they will not pull over or ride single, they stay there. And I'm wondering, well, you know, I have to wait for them to stop so I can pass, or they take a turn, or I have to pass them up on left lane. I'm not sure what to do, but I thought they were supposed to ride single file if there's room on that right lane. So I was wondering how that works. Second thing, how do you determine a electric bike that goes 28 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour? And how about a bike that can shut the electric power off and go manual? Is it still able to go through Hermosa Beach, even though you shut the power off?
Yeah. So do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
So yeah, bicyclists are supposed to ride as close to the curb as possible. So yeah, if they're riding in tandem, that could be an issue.
What do I do if they do? I mean, it's kind of, if I have to get somewhere and they're in front of me and they would not move over, I think they're just being idiots about it.
Yeah. If I were you, I would give them as much room as possible and drive around them and just move out of the area. Just and I get what you're saying, but that's a high road situation where you just got to be real careful and give them plenty of space and just move around them.
Yeah, I hope if the police see that, they will ticket them.
Yep, for sure.
What was your first question, Joe?
Was the one was about how do you determine a bike that goes 28 miles per hour than 20 miles per hour?
Yeah. So some of the e-bikes are supposed to be marked class 1, 2, and 3. A lot of them are not anymore. So it is very difficult to try and figure it out. We've seen some police officers, like in Hermosa, they'll use like their laser kind of radar gun to determine speed. So that's one way of determining. But it's tough to try and judge between that 20 and 28 miles per hour. And then I think to answer your last question, yes, in Hermosa Beach, they don't allow bikes under power on their bike path. And that is in their city ordinance. And so what they want are riders to pedal.
Okay, so if I put in manual, if I put a manual and pedal, that's okay then, right?
In Hermosa, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you do when you stop somebody under 13 or 16 years old that goes crashes through a stop sign? Because 3 times this month this happened to me, and it's pretty scary because they almost hit me twice,
Yeah.
and I got the love middle finger from one of them,
I know.
and I got two kids laughing
Yeah.
out loud like, oh, they thought it was funny, but
Yeah.
it's pretty serious. And
It
when you
is.
stop them, they don't have license, they don't have ID. How do you know
So
who they are?
That's pretty egregious. And what we would probably do in that situation is write a citation, call parents, and let them know what's going on.
But how do you know who they are? Because they have no identification.
Right. So, well, I mean, in that case, we could bring them into the station and have their parents come pick them up, and that's happened. Generally, with the threat of that, they will give us the parents' phone number, and we'll call the parents and get the information.
I would think
But,
after 3 times.
There's California law, 40302A of the California Vehicle Code section says if you commit a traffic violation, you have to present identification. 13 years old, 80 years old, doesn't matter. So generally, we don't have the issue. We will stop the person, get the information. We can run names through our databases to confirm the information, or we can call parents.
Okay, I would think after 3 times, just take the bike away from.
You would think so.
Okay,
Thanks, Joe.
and give it to me. Okay, thank you.
All right, Jim Hannon, your hand is up. You've been waiting.
Yeah, hi. This has been a good group, actually. Some good questions here, but I just wanted to clarify, Shirley. When Shirley and I talked about this was probably over a year ago, and the fact is, what she's referring to is what they call as Idaho stop, which is not a required stop. What it is, it's a yield right away. So in Idaho, when you pull up to a stop, four-way stop, for example, you treat it as a yield, not as a complete stop. And so that basically has been implemented over 20 years in Idaho. They have a lot of good data that shows actually it's been safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. So it was successful in their view. Then transferred over to Washington and went down to Oregon. Now all three of those states basically have what they call as an Idaho stop. We tried to implement this 2 years ago in California, and it got right up to governor's signature, and he wouldn't sign it. So we tried again this year and didn't sign it. So it did not get passed, just to clarify that. So we're back to the original, four-way stop, you must stop. It's roughly about a $250 or $60 fine, just to let you know. Whether you're driving a car or driving a bicycle, it's the same. Bicycles are considered slow-moving vehicles. They have to abide by the same rules of the road, with a few exceptions. They're not allowed on freeways and not allowed on certain roads. But other than that, they basically are allowed any place. And e-bikes are considered bicycles, so they're treated the same way. There are exceptions though, and with age, you're not supposed to have an e-bike that drives, can go over 20 miles an hour, or class 1 e-bike. And yet we go to elementary schools and we go out to the bike racks and you can see class 2 e-bikes that travel at 28 miles an hour. And, they're totally illegal for kids. And just to give you a feel of what that means, if you're riding a pedal bike, the average speed of a person that's 16 years old that rides a pedal bike rides it at 14.9 miles per hour. So the average person that rides an e-bike, a class 1, is really pushing the max. They're usually going 20. And you have that engine behind it, you have more weight, you have, they generally weigh 80 pounds or maybe somewhere between 60 and 80 pounds, most of the e-bikes. So if you get hit by one, it's like getting hit by a motorcycle. Very, very dangerous. And we're seeing, we definitely have seen a lot of uh, serious injuries as a result of e-bikes. Uh, I did want to clarify a couple of the things that, there are still today a lot more pedal bikes than there are e-bikes. I know there's a program out there, it's called LTN, which is Local Travel Network, and they're trying to actually put a set of bike lanes in there for specifically what they consider is personal e-bikes or e-devices. And what that means is they're putting a network in, or trying to put a network in, that they can basically, they will take some of the automobile lanes out of the secondary roads and basically market for LTNs, which is the local travel networks is what they're actually called. So that's something that everybody's going to probably have to deal with here in another year, because I think that's going to happen. Let you know that I am the president of the South Bay Bicycling Coalition. I'm also a league cycling instructor, a certified youth cycling instructor, and a USA cycling instructor. So I've been around for a long time, been around bikes for a long time. And I certainly, a few years back, I think we've educated over 3,100 children in 2018, and COVID hit and a lot of things fell apart. But so what we're doing today, though, we have a good website. We went in, modernized our website. We've got all the information in there for e-bike riders or bike riders or pedal bike riders or whatever kind of bike you ride. We think it's pretty good. It has a lot of good videos where you have basically developed a kind of a business card that we sent out. We're giving those to each one of the bike shops in the area, especially e-bikes. And if somebody comes in to buy an e-bike, we're asking them to go ahead and take a look at some of these videos and information, share it with their children. And certainly education is, a big component. Having said that, just to let you know, I mean, we believe enforcement is a form of education too. I mean, it's like if we all have children, and it's sort of like maybe taking the belt to your child versus maybe explaining what they did wrong. So we think that education in a classroom or, in person is certainly better than giving somebody a citation. But if you do give somebody a citation, many cities, including Redondo Beach up until 2 years ago, and the courts basically shut down, no longer have a diversion program for adult bicyclists. I'm glad to hear that there's one for youth, because I know we had over 200 people in a 2 or 3 year period that took this adult bike education program after receiving a citation. And they felt it was very good. I mean, they critiqued the classes, gave it very high marks, said they learned a lot in the class. And oh, by the way, if you don't take a class, there's no place else to get educated, because, most people, that it's kind of like buying a boat, right? You go out and buy a boat and you just drive it away from the dock and go to Catalina. There is no education required, and bikes are the same way. Is that right? Wrong? No, probably not right. We should probably force it just like we do with automobile. I mean, you get driver's permits, you take education programs at school, and by the time you get a driver's license, you have a good idea how to behave on the road. And I wish we had more of that. There was something else that was brought up, the Swithers program, by the way. It's something that we generate a report card each year, the South Bay Bicycling Coalition, and we pull Swithers data, which is out of CHP. They collect city by city data, how many crashes, what type of crashes, what the age are, how serious is the crash. And you can go in there and you can actually sort that by year. We do a 5-year report card. We take a look at it and we rate it against the other 17 cities in the South Bay. And 2 years ago, which is the last time we pulled this data, we generally do it every year with interns, but we discovered that Redondo Beach was had the worst record for bicyclists in any other of the 17 cities in the South Bay. And number two is pedestrians were second to any of the other 17 cities in the South Bay. So Redondo Beach, from a pedestrian standpoint and a bicyclist standpoint, really, according to Swithers data, which is CHP data, and it's backed by Cal Berkeley, they're the ones that put it together, and anybody can pull it down. But Redondo has a horrible record, and I think in part it's because they haven't kept up with the increase in cyclists. I mean, we know pedal bikes have increased by 200 or 300%, and e-bikes have, increased by 400 or 500%. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify a few things in there that that might not be clear to you. So
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I put your website, Beach Cities Bicycle Club, bcclub.org. That's you guys?
What we are is sbbcplus.com.
Oh,
yeah.
SBCC?
Plus.com or plus.org. That was a cycling club that I started, the BCC club. And so, but I'm also president of the coalition too. So
got it. Okay.
I'm all about bicycling. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Next up, Joan Irvine. I know your hand's not up, but you were up next. And then after that, we'll have Brianna Egan. So Joan Irvine, are you?
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go. Go for it.
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to commend what everybody's trying to do. And also with Jim, the training, when I decided I was going to be a bicyclist again, I went and took a training he did before as an adult that I was even going to feel comfortable going on the road. And I know that they've done great youth education. But I must say, I'm one of these people that in the last month in the village, the kids, and I'll tell you where they hang, they say, where is most of it? In the village, it is at Vista Del Mar and between Via del Prada and Catalina. I've almost been hit a couple of times by them on the streets and going onto the sidewalks. And the reason I'm attending tonight is last week, I almost hit a kid, well, kids, excuse me. 2 kids on a bike, no motorcycle, no helmet. They came out of the Trader Joe's parking lot, did not look, went down Vista Del Mar. Then instead of just going, they really very semi-stopped. And then they proceeded not straight, but across to the opposite one-way part of the road. And I was just going, I can't believe this. And parents are giving their kids, these bikes are expensive. And I really think that what should happen is I think the training that parents should have to go with their children and take a class, and the children and the parents should be certified. If they can afford to spend that kind of money on a bike, they can afford to spend, take a class and teach their children well. Because I came so close to hitting these kids that I was just shaking. I was just so upset. And it's going to happen, or I'm going to get hit. And I really think it starts with the parents. I love what the police department is doing, but they shouldn't have to babysit these kids. It's a parent's responsibility. And so I think that you need to put together a program that engages, that the kids, they can't buy a bike, without having a license. I know, Jim, you're saying you can buy a boat and just take off. But I think something needs to change on that. And I think the age, because the kids that almost hit me, they couldn't, if they were, it's hard for me to judge at this age, but I would say, if they were 12 or 13, that was kind of the age. And if any kid is at 12 or 13 is on an e-bike, their parents have to know about it. So I think it goes back to that. And I just wish that there, some program would happen, because somebody's going to get really hurt. Somebody's going to get killed. And I certainly don't want to be the one that causes that because of, some irresponsible parents and children that don't know how to ride the bikes. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just so everyone knows, there's only so much we can do on a local level with regarding laws. State laws, you got to go ask your state representatives, right? And I know there's been some comments made regarding banning e-bikes in Redondo Beach. Well, if we were to ban e-bikes in Redondo Beach, we got to post that everywhere, and then we have to start enforcing that somehow. And that's a bike path, that's Prospect, that's Aviation, any Inglewood. It's a lot of it's basically an impossible job, right? And so I think what I'm hearing from a lot of people is more enforcement, more in education, which what we're all doing, and really use those tools at our hand. And Brianna Egan, you are next. Your hand is up.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add to this conversation as far as I think a common thread that everyone is bringing up in terms of their concern is safety, and just recognizing that like this is sort of a new technology and it's kind of a big trend that we've been seeing, and how to find ways to make it safer for cyclists and cars. And so one thing that I think is pretty interesting to acknowledge is it's not just Redondo that has had like a surge in e-bike uptake. It's something that a lot of more affluent coastal cities like up and down California have also been seeing. And I think another common thread is like with this rapid shift, our infrastructure has not kept up with the shift in transportation. And I think that's truly what this is. It's not just e-bikes for fun or for recreation. It's actually like kids using the bikes to ride to school, to high school, instead of having to buy, $10,000+ car that, with insurance and all these other things that come with that. And so, and it's also like I have family members who use their e-bikes and ride to the grocery store, and that reduces a car trip right there. And so I think like these e-bikes are actually car replacements. And so what we need to also be considering along with education is infrastructure. And so I think like that could come from a state level as far as like providing more funding. But just like the rapid shift in e-bike uptake has not been met with a shift in infrastructure. And in particular, like there's examples of cities in California, like Emeryville, for example, Culver City, that have actually been, and in the Bay Area as well, working on a lot of quick build bike lanes, which they do as like a community effort with grant funding, with the city, public works, things like that, where they put up quick build protected bike lanes and then see how that works. And then if it's successful, then they can actually make it more permanent. So I think initiatives like that would be really positive, and something that could bring together like students who are using these e-bikes. And then just globally, so like in Paris, in the past few years alone, the mayor, Anne Hidalgo, has done quite a lot of work. I think it's really inspiring if you look into that, just as far as building networks of connected, protected lanes, and also safe intersections, and raised pedestrian crossing. There's a lot of best practices internationally as far as like what our streets could look like, because we are so conditioned here in the US to be, very car oriented in all of like the infrastructure that we have. And so I think we need to think more creatively and broadly. And then as Jim Hannon was mentioning, like bike trainings, I've attended some virtual bike trainings put on by Bike East Bay. They're a really active group that offers virtual trainings to anyone who wants to learn like street riding and how to be a safe cyclist. And then, I think, maybe if there's a coalition of other cities that are working on this, I know Carlsbad and Encinitas, they've had like high profile, deaths from people on e-bikes, and they are trying to commit like millions more dollars towards making safer streets. So I have two questions. One is for you, Nils, and then I have another question for the police department.
Fire away.
Okay, so the first one for you, just wondering what types of like infrastructure improvements do you think Redondo can make, and what can we expect to see happening in particular?
Yep.
I know with the bike.
Yep. So let me answer that
plan.
question for you right now. It's what I said at the very beginning. When I got in office in 2017, we had less than 5% of the South Bay Bicycle Master Plan built, and I made it a big deal for me for our city to move forward with more striping and building out bicycle lanes. And by the time I leave in 2025, over 80% of the South Bay Bicycle Master Plan will be built, and that does not include some of the bicycle lanes that actually are not on that master plan. So and that also does not include the dramatic increase in bicycle parking. So along the coastline, if you notice, Beaches and Harbors has put out a lot more bicycle parking, so you can lock your bike up. That's because I asked Beaches and Harbors to do that. We do not control, City of Redondo Beach does not control the bike path. So when there's a question in here earlier regarding speeding on the bike path, we don't, we don't control the signage down there. We can enforce, but we don't control that. And of course, the Riviera Village and many other areas, we've done a lot more infrastructure upgrades to support bicycle parking.
For sure, yeah, that's been huge to see. And I think, like, as you've said in other like council meetings and stuff, that like when you build it, they will come, and seeing the bike parking in Riviera Village like be there, then that that helps people know that they have a destination that they can go and lock their bike. So I think more of that would be great. And follow-up question, is there any sort of commitment that the city has, like in a public works level, where whenever they do resurfacing, that like they are committed to implementing the bicycle master plan on each street?
Yep. So when we do resurfacing projects, one of the things that I myself, Mayor Brand, and Councilmember Lowenstein have done for the last many years is make sure that we have striping. And even if it's not in the South Bay Bicycle Master Plan, we look for ability to stripe and add bicycle lanes. And it also helps with getting funding from the county and the state regarding bicycle lanes. And in fact, you'll see on Torrance Boulevard, or the large resurfacing project will include adding bicycle lanes on Torrance Boulevard. So absolutely.
Sounds good. Yeah, and I think to whatever extent possible, like I know there's street design guidelines and such, but like if those lanes can be made protected with bollards, like that would be the best option for people to like more safely ride their bikes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be like the biggest thing. And then if I can ask my question to the police department as well.
What's your real quick, what's your question?
So I'm wondering, so we're seeing like it's not just about e-bikes and people on e-bikes, it's also cars that are a threat to pedestrians and bikes. So I'm just wondering, what is the police department doing to cite drivers who are texting while driving and who stop and like obstruct the crosswalks at the stop site? So
okay.
Inattentive driving.
John, you want to take that?
Well, yeah. Hey, John, actually, I'll address it for you. So, so recently, like I stated earlier, Office of Traffic Safety, we just received grants. And in those grants are very specific for various enforcements. And exactly what you said, there's pedestrian, bicycle enforcement. So that's distracted drivers, so cell phone use and all that. So that grant allows us funding. So we hire officers to go out and specifically target those issues. So again, those just got approved, came through council, and they're actually already being implemented now. And so we are keeping up aggressive enforcement, again, using those grants.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Thank you.
All right, and there was a question earlier regarding decoy cars and people, multiple violators. So if we get someone who's violated the laws and been probably gets prosecuted. Is there are there higher fines for those individuals, or is it just consistent points on their record?
Yeah, points on the record, could lose your license.
Okay. And then there's a question here regarding the beach on the county, but I've actually been thinking of talking to a lot of people about this, widening the walkway on the beach in Redondo. That's actually something I've thought about for a while. Again, that's county, so it's going to take some time. We're working with them right now on some other issues. But other than that, if anyone else got any questions, we're if I can let the police department guys go and we look at the comments here on Zoom. If anyone has any here now with Zoom, go ahead and unmute yourself. Joe, your hand is up. Go for it. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Joe. You were not unmuted. I don't see any comments that in the Facebook comments.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who are handicapped or who ride e-bikes, and it could be a tricycle, electric tricycle, or regular bike. Specific people who have knee problems and everything. Is there a way we could get some type of special card or something? Say, hey, we are handicapped and we're able to, go on all three paths, either the 1, 2, or 3 type of roads or bike paths. Is there any type of privilege that
there's currently not, and that's something that might, through the state law, it's a great idea, but would have to be a state law change,
because
not something at the local level.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have knee problems and they need electric bike. They can't ride a manual bike.
Yeah, it's a good point, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more hands. I see comments here in Facebook, but no police direct comments. And remember, you guys, a lot of these comments regarding insurance and violations and lieu fees, those are state issues, and we can only do so much. And that comes down, for us, it just comes down to enforcement and being proactive with education at the school level. So police department, Captain Naylor and Lieutenant King, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. You guys are spending an extra hour and a half now tonight. And if there's any other closing words you want to let us know, go ahead, let us know now. But thank you guys so much for your time and being available here for this. And I appreciate all the constant work.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you. It is a frustrating topic. And I appreciate you guys sticking in there with us to help get this solved. It is a community effort. Councilman Narenheim, you're familiar with the quality of life email. I would say that is probably a great email to use for people in your district or anywhere in Redondo Beach that wants to make a complaint about a quality of life issue like e-bike use, illegal use of e-bikes in a certain area. qualityoflife@redondo.org, qualityoflife@redondo.org. That's an email, goes directly to our quality of life team, and just gives us email notification of a problem in a certain area, and then we could start throwing our resources at it. So we use it for a lot of things. We use it for services for the unsheltered, loud air conditioning units, and any kind of quality of life issue that impacts the city. So we could also use it for e-bike enforcement. So if that is something, you see something like Joan Irvine said in a particular area, you can put it out on that email. It'll get to us and we'll throw some resources out there to try and do something about it. So thank you guys very much. And I really do appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just lastly, closing again, just to piggyback off of what the captain said too, on top of the quality of life, we also have our traffic hotline, which is on the city website. So they could go there, and any traffic related complaints, that goes right to our traffic unit. And from there, they compile a list of complaint areas, and then we try to target enforcement in those areas. So just another place to reach out. Again, Councilman, thank you so much for all your support and your help in this endeavor. And again, to all the community members that attended this meeting, also thank you guys. Again, this is a work in progress, and this is a team. This is a teamwork. So thank you guys, and wish you all happy holidays.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It's awesome. All right, so we'll get going back to our other part of our agenda here. We've got a couple of items I wanted to go over for the community. Last time we had an online meeting or community meeting. We've had a lot going on at the council. We've been up late. We've got, first thing I want to start off with is the election. So we've got a big election coming up here in March. We've got District 3 council race coming up, District 5 council. Actually, it's not a race for District 5. Only one person turned in their paperwork, and that's Scott Barron. He's going to be walking on. And then we got city treasurer's position. There's 2 people who filed paperwork for that, and then the city clerk, and only one person filed paperwork for that. That's Eleanor Manzano. And we also have, I believe, 5 charter amendments, as well as a cannabis tax. So I believe there's 6 items. If memory serves me correct, there's a lot of charter amendments and items that we're voting on here citywide. And our charter is voted on 1949, and as through the years, as we've gone through, society has changed, business has changed, the way government works has changed. So we have updated our charter, and that's one of the things that we're doing right now. It's one of the things that we've this council has been pushing really hard. For instance, we got contracts and the way we sign contracts, the way we execute contracts. We had really outdated method of procurement. We still have that until this actually gets changed in the charter. We're bound by certain procedures, which holds things up dramatically. And we got a gender change. So in the charter, back when the charter was created in 1949, the term "he" is as defined as just people in general. And now today with society the way we've gone, he is not necessarily him. He is people define that as a gender related. So that's being changed now to the mayor or the position or the person. So non-gender based. So gender update on there. Of course, there's a cannabis tax on there that you'll be voting on because we are going through the process of allowing retail cannabis here in Redondo. So that's going to be moving forward. And then there's a like I said, District 3, there's 2 people, Candice Nafisi and Paige, I believe is her name, running in District 3. And then city treasurer, it's Eugene Solomon running for city treasurer, and a guy named Matt, I think Matt Kilroy is running for city treasurer. And let's see here, and District 5, like I said, that was Scott Barron. He's the only one that turned in paperwork. So if you want to, you can also in District 5, if you want to do a write-in candidate, you can do a write-in candidate. So if you feel that you want to challenge the District 5 person that's coming in. So let's see here. Any questions on our charter updates? We'll get more into the election in January. I'll have all of the candidates come down and give them 2-3 minutes just to say hi regardless. Oh, we also have a school board as well running. We have 3 members, people running for school board for 2 open positions. Raymer Flynn and oh man, name escaping me right now, sorry. She's the incumbent, and so there's 1 open spot. I forgot his name too right now. It's been a long day, sorry. Mr. Solomon, your hand is up.
Thank you. Just as a note, the charter amendments that are appearing, the Charter Review Committee for those amendments that are going to be on the ballot voted unanimously to put these items on the ballot. And the City Council also voted unanimously to recommend that these items be put on the ballot. with regard to two of the items that I wrote the pro arguments for, our capital improvement projects, we have to send them out to bid if it's more than $50,000, which is an incredibly low number in today's world. And these numbers haven't been updated since 1989. So it'll enable, by raising the numbers up, a lot of projects that get held up because they have to go out to a lengthy bidding process to get done right away. And there won't be this sort of back and forth that they have between the city attorney's office and Public Works or the city finance department about, well, is it maintenance or is it a capital improvement project? We'll be able to bid, be able to do projects under $200,000 right away. It'll really improve the quality of life and get projects expedited that now are taking 3 or 5 or even years or even longer to do. So for those things, when you see them on the ballot, please know that a lot of these things haven't been updated in nearly 40 years. And so we're just trying to index it or get it up to date for inflation. And I hope that everybody will look at that and work with it. And I think it's a really good idea. Like I said, it was voted unanimously to approve this by the City Charter Review Committee. And this was voted to be put on the ballot unanimously by City Council. It's not a divisive issue. It's for the best of the city. It improves efficiencies, improves our quality of life. So that's my pitch. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Yes, and you are writing the arguments, the two arguments in favor of for CA1 and CA2. I am writing the argument in favor of the mayoral signing contracts, so the city council can sign, the city manager, any other officers sign contracts. At CA4. CA3, I believe, is the gender neutrality one. Then there is that gender neutrality is being written, the arguments in favor of is being written by Wayne Craig, I believe. Oh, of course, the CA6, I believe, is the ranked choice voting, so that if the way we run our elections, Redondo, you have to get a majority, so 50% plus 1. So in the primary, so to speak, in the March, if there's 3 candidates, no candidate gets 50%. The top 2 highest vote getters get go to a runoff. So you can look at that. We'll go over that in much more detail in January. There's a lot there, so we'll probably talk about the majority of that in January. There's not much going to happen over the course of next month, which would be really good. And I believe, let's see, Councilmember Laura MD is running the arguments in favor of for that. I believe all city council members, I believe, are going to be signing that. So let's see, and then there's a cannabis tax. I'm not sure. Oh, Councilmember Zaino Baji is writing the arguments in favor of for the cannabis tax. And I think that's it. And then so going back to the school board, Jerome Chang is running for that 2 open seats, or 1 open seat and 1 incumbent, and then Byung Cho, he's also running as well. So there's 3 candidates for Board of Education. So I don't see any other questions. If you have any questions, let me know, or just raise your hand. Let's see here. Coffee with a cop tomorrow. I'm actually going to bring this up before the cops left. If you want to get coffee with a cop, La Terraza, nice, great little delicious coffee place on Avenue D in PCH. There's some really good food there as well. 9:30 to 10:30, I want to say, 9 to 11, right in there. If you show up at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, you'll be just fine. Grab a free cup of coffee, meet some police members, and talk about e-bikes and let them know what you feel, what's going on. And it's been a really successful program. They also do let's see here, snow cones and popcorn and a couple other things on the Esplanade. Let's see here, refuse recycling, get that a little bit later. So let's go over some agenda items that we talked about in the last month. I'll start in November. We had 16 items on the consent calendar. Not too much of a big deal there. But one thing we did talk about and we approved is the website contract. So we are approving, or we have approved, a new website provider called Revise. And for those of you that don't know, we had a subcommittee. Councilmember Lowenstein and I were on a subcommittee to choose our next website provider. We sent out a request, an RFP, request for proposals. We got 19 answers back. We sorted through all those 19 on a point system, and we took the top 5. And the top 5, we did a presentation to a community group. So we had assigned 5 members of the community, and those 5 members met with all 5 of our top 5 vote point getters, and they came up and had a 1-hour kind of interview, so to speak, and demo and interview, I should say. And from there, we whittled it down. The subcommittee, Councilman Lowenstein and I also decided it was a clear winner, and that's Revise. They're doing a whole host of updates to our website. And it's not just, I want to be very clear on this, it's not just our website. The website's a kind of a springboard for many other updates. So we're working on an online permitting system. We're looking at updating our city logo, update the content. So pictures, I know I've talked about this before, photography, video, all of these items will be updating and adding to the website, pertinent content. And let me tell you, I have been happy with the website for a long time. Councilmember Lowenstein and I have been working hard to get an extra money funneled away. We started off with 50 grand, $60,000. We are doing a lot more, spending over 100,000. I think the total budget came in below that. We're going with a really good website provider. You can look them up, Revise. I want to say it's revise.com. I want to say Revise website. Yeah. Revise.com. Yeah, if you check them out, they do a whole host of municipal websites across the nation. They know exactly what they're doing. Their customer service is excellent. It is not the same company that's currently doing our current website. They are atrocious. So it's kind of a city that's breaking out of our shell into the digital age. We've really been pushing for, myself specifically, to digitization for a lot of the forms that we got and the process that we got. And you'll be seeing that. So the website will be active probably around late spring, early summer, right in there, right in that kind of time frame. It takes about 6 months to build it out, since we just signed the contract last month. Got that, that'll be around the May, June time. And let me tell you, I feel your pain with the website, guys. I feel it. So if you guys gonna raise your questions or hands with that, let me know. But I definitely understand the frustration when it comes to it. And I really want to thank, I see Sheila Lamb here. I want to thank the community members that were a part of that. There were 5 of them. They spent a lot of time. Let me tell you, my July and August is busy, and I spent a ton of time going over these RFPs. I mean, 19 RFPs that came through. So we went over them in great amount of detail. Why is there a change in public works? No, Gil, that's actually the next thing I'm going to go over. So in November, we talked about adding an environmental commission to Redondo Beach. Something that I've been pushing forward is, if you look at a lot of other cities, they have environmental commission or sustainability commission. Basically what they go over is, like, hey, what kind of paints do we use? What kind of, parks upgrades that we use in terms of the park, the play equipment are the processes that we're using here in Redondo Beach, is it sustainable? Is it, can we use solar? Can we use double pane, glass, on those kinds, energy efficiency? So those kinds of environmental concerns we've never had on a commission. The Public Works Commission will be taking up that cause, and we will be renaming that commission some sort of environmental sustainable commission. So Public Works and Sustainability. So public work, something to that effect. And it's actually a little bit better of a description to describe the Public Works Commission. It doesn't cost any money to really change. It's just really, it's time to look at it and say, what is it better that to better describe the Public Works Commission versus what we currently have. A lot of people here are concerned about BCHD, we signed a contract with BCHD, a reimbursement contract for roughly 300,000, 350,000, 320,000 for legal services and outside, so third-party services from design review to if their proposed project they're going to be sending us will or is consistent with our general plan or our local ordinances, and if it's not, they'll be updating their plan. That's just a reimbursement agreement. So basically what this comes down to is rather than us and staff spending time, I should say, which is money, which we don't get paid back for, we hire a outside third party, and then we could charge off that cost directly to the BCH's health district, in which case that district will pay for all of those expenses. And I would remind everyone that the whatever plan that they have will be going to the planning commission. First, it will be signed off by the city staff, or I shouldn't say signed off, let me rephrase that. They will look at that plan and say, make sure that it's consistent with our general plan on local ordinances and policies. And then they will present that to the planning commission, at which point in time planning commission will make approve, deny, or make changes. And I believe there's a conditional use permit associated with that. And then if that gets appealed, that project will come to the city council in Redondo Beach. So it's going to be a few months before that is going to happen, but it is in the movement, and that was talked about regarding BCHD. Let's see here. That was the November meeting. We had meeting on December 6th. A bunch of items on the consent calendar, 15, 16 items. Anyone that says that things aren't happening in the city of Redondo Beach, just look at the consent calendar items. We have a lot of contracts that are being approved, a lot of things happening in the background that are administrative, and it's actually very telling the amount of items on that consent calendar. When you see a full consent calendar, that means staff is moving forward on a lot of items. We had a discussion on the police department as well. We're reorganizing a little bit of the police department, some of the civilian personnel. We're getting rid of a couple of spots and taking the pay and benefits and adding that to other spots and those responsibilities to other spots. And what that will allow us to do is to have, really what comes down to is records retention policy, records management, administrative items. And one thing I learned, I did not know this, but everyone knows that police and fire is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, you name it, 4th of July, we all know police and fire is working. But what you don't know, and you forgot, is that police department has a whole civilian side to them as well. So records management, and they got to be there as well and available, because if an arrest happens at 3 a.m. on New Year's Eve or Hanukkah or Christmas or Thanksgiving, 4th of July, whatever it may be, someone's got to process that paperwork. And so there's a civilian staff that are available 24/7 at our police department as well. So that was interesting to learn, and we're moving some things around there. That's quite cool to see. Let's see here. Next item we had is, I want to talk about this just for a second. The temporary beach closure on the Avenue A ramp. So just so everyone knows, 18 inches from the Esplanade. You see that wall that's there? Well, that wall, 18 inches to the west of that, that's where LA County jurisdiction starts. They own that. And there's a ramp on Avenue A. And just this last week, that we have it closed because Mayor Brand and I have been working for years to get a hold of the right people in LA County, and no one kind of really believed us. And Mayor Brand got a hold of the right person at the right time with the right photograph, the right walk down the beach to show them the ramp at Avenue A. And they said, "Holy cow, we did not understand that this ramp was in dire need." And in so dire need that this last week it actually collapsed. There's a big concrete wall, and it collapsed over. It's been shut down for the last year and a half, I want to say. I've got some pictures of it, sent that around to some people, so I'll send them on my Facebook page as well. And what's important about that is it's that project alone is going to be roughly $3 million, $2.5 million. There's another project over on Nob Hill. There's a pedestrian walk path that LA County is upgrading that as well. That's going to be roughly $1.5 million, $2 million to upgrade that. So they're working with us. Both are under emergency orders, emergency procedures. The county is moving forward on that. And we are in charge, oddly enough, we're in charge of the permitting process for that, because we have jurisdiction over the county in that area. So moving forward on that, that's important. I get a lot of questions on that. Laura, I got a question from you regarding pallet shelter, donating people for that pallet shelter. Any needs and wants. I'm not sure what needs and wants would be, but if you have anything you wanted to donate to the pallet shelter, you could just go up there and drop it off at the site location on Kingsdale Avenue. You can just drop it off there directly. The service provider, the people who actually are in charge of that location, is a place in San Pedro called memories are off on me tonight, sorry. I'll remember, but they're in charge of the site. There's a 501c3. They're based in San Pedro. They will accept your donations as well. And I have to give a plug for the Spark of Love toy drive. That is in any fire station. You can drop off some toys there if you have unwrapped toys. That working with Channel 7. In fact, I'll just buy station 2, saying goodbye to an employee there. He's just retiring, and the place is filled with toys. So Harbor Interfaith, thank you very much, Sheila. Yeah, so there's a lot of toys, but they're always looking for more toys, and you can drop them off at any fire station here, Redondo, Fire Station 1 on Catalina and Pearl, and up on Grant Avenue up in District 4 up there. So let's see here. Harbor Interfaith, yes. Next item. That kind of brings us to a close from all the things that we discussed in November. Let's see. So December, we had what was actually last week? Yes, last week. We had a presentation on a California 101 art exhibition at the Veterans Historic Library. If you guys remember, the Veterans old library down in Veterans Park that was hosted an art exhibition for about 3 weeks. They had it was visited by one of their highest attended visitations with visitors numbers, and they sold, I believe, the most amount of artwork as well they've ever sold. They did extremely well. It was 100% free for everyone to come down and look at the art, and it's also free for the artists, and just so everyone kind of understands how it works. The group called California Redondo Beach Arts Group, Friends of the Redondo Beach Arts Group, they start about 3 months ahead of time, and they get a location secured. Then they invite a bunch of artists who look at the location. Then they choose from those artists who create art for that particular location and to show up and do artwork. And they get a lot of people showing up wanting to do artwork for that location for all of their shows, but particularly in this particular location. And they had a great presentation, a great turnout on that. And it went really, really well. And I think what the number one draw for that was this last year was the fact that it was at the old library. And you could walk around at the old library down in Veterans Park. It's the one with the big old tree next to it, 100-year-old, 120-year-old tree. You know, you had the ability to walk around, like I said, everywhere. And it's not many times you get the ability to do that. Really, really special. So hopefully we'll be able to do it next year. We're going through an RFP process, a request for proposals on running the old library down there and turn it into kind of a community centers slash art slash music slash kind of food related, so you can rent it, and hopefully they'll have coffee and pastries and things like that. You can show up there and have coffee in the park and kind of look at the wonderful view. It's a gorgeous view that's down there, and maybe events as well, and they can run events. One thing, let's see here, last week, what else did we go over? We went over noise ordinance update regarding allowing certain mechanical equipment in backyard setbacks. It's a complicated thing. I'll just say it real simple. One of the things we haven't had in Redondo Beach was a quality enforcement of noise related issues. And one of the reasons why is you can't just send an officer out there and cite someone for being too loud. You have to have a noise measuring device, and there's a whole process to that. So we're now getting that going, the training that's required for that officer to be able to have the equipment, which needs to be certified, we're learning from LAPD, and will allow certain mechanical equipment in backyard setbacks and on the roof of a second story residential. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is big deals to certain people if you want air conditioner or certain equipment. So next thing we talked about was a concierge program to the businesses in Redondo Beach. One thing that's been a big problem here at Redondo Beach is somebody turns in a permit for a new business that requires some work at a particular location with permits. Don't know what the long process is. People are confused. There's a lot of approvals from the county that you need to get, and so it takes a long time. And we have a business concierge program that we're really starting to start up and work in the city here in Redondo Beach. And again, like I said earlier in the conversation about new website, well, a new website is going to work with our business concierge program. And in fact, in July, Public Works created a flow chart for creating, if a neighborhood wants speed bumps or speed humps or near stop signs, there's a real process now, and it's a public process, and you can kind of see where you are in the process. There's a paperwork where it's at, and same kind of concept and idea for the business concierge program. So to be more business friendly here in Redondo Beach, attract more business, retain that business, and make it easier to gain a construction permit here in Redondo Beach. They're all big things that we've been working on here in Redondo, and so especially for me to see this moving forward is a big deal. Our city manager, Mike Wazanski, hired some people, a person in particular from Anaheim, who has experience in this type of program, setting this program up. So it's really, really important to have something like this. So when business shows up to our front desk and says, "Hey, I want to open a business, this is what I want to do," we can help them right away. And I also want to include that this is going to be for residents as well. So if residents want to do a remodel or build a house or do an upgrade or something, this will also include a method for the resident to see, hey, this is what the process is. This is where I'll need to go. This is the approximate cost that it's going to be, and really customer service, customer focused city government. That it sounds like it's duh, but that really, to be honest with you, has not been there for many years. So that's a real changing of the guard and the thought process. And that brings me to the other item here. We talked about this at my community meeting in person, and that's the city manager's pay. We voted to direct the city attorney's office to amend the city manager's pay and to give him a pay increase by 6%. He currently makes $250,000, so a 6% increase from that. I talked about this at my community meeting in person. My thought process is to give a 2.5 or 3% bonus, or 2.5, 3% increase in pay, and then give the rest out as a yearly bonus if the city manager hits certain goals. And I want to take a minute and explain kind of why the thought process is there for me on that, and why it's important that people understand at city council, a lot of people come to us and say, can you get XYZ department head or personnel to do something? The answer is no, I can't. I only have one employee, or the council itself has one employee, and that's the city manager. The city manager is Mike Wazanski. He came in. I've been working for the city now for 15 years plus, I want to say, and came from city of Torrance. And he is our only employee on the council. This Culver City has multiple employees. They're city council. They hire the city manager, they hire their city attorney, they hire their police chief. And in Redondo, we have a council, mayor, form of government, just like most other cities around us, that we hire the city manager. We can tell the city manager what to do. That's our employee. We can set up goals or not set up goals. We have a review of their performance at the end at a given certain point in time, and we hire and fire that employee, and that employee is in charge of all employees in Redondo. So if I ask these police chief or fire chief or public works or wherever employee may do something, they can just look at me and say, I really appreciate that input. That's great to hear. But my boss is Mike Wazanski. He's the city manager. And that's kind of the way it works. So in all cities, really, unless you're different like Culver City. So anyways, long story short, Wazanski's done a phenomenal job in here in the city. See a lot of movement going forward. I am in the mindset, I work in LA County as an employee in LA County. A lot of other management companies, higher end management work off of bonuses and goals. And if you accomplish those goals, because salaried employees, if they work 40 hours a week, 20 hours a week, or 80 hours a week, they get paid the same amount of money. That's called an exempt employee. And we got to set up goals. For me, it's about setting up goals and being responsive to those goals. And going back to what I just said regarding city councils, the old joke in the city managers field and council, city council is three votes. A city manager, if there's a council of 5, the city manager only knows how to count to 3. Counts 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because it takes 3 to hire and 3 to fire. And so that's kind of the joke in the elected world and the city manager world. And the problem with that is you'll get 1 or 2 council members who might not get what they need or want. And Mayor Brand, for instance, was in a 4-1 minority for years when he was on the city council. And it's important for me that when I leave, that we have a contract in place and a city manager in place that takes care of the city as a whole. And this is, to me, is one of the ways we can do that, is ensuring that all city council members are heard. And if something's really important for them, the city manager, their employee, finds ways to get that done. And it might be something small, it might be something big. But if they're in the minority on a certain issue or issues in general, then I think it's important that the city manager is still responsive, because for me, at the end of the day, it's about the residents, and the residents are the ones who will either suffer or will be successful. And so, we have to look at the city as a whole. And I've always looked at the perspective of, we represent the city as a whole. We get elected in districts, but represent the city as a whole. So setting up goals for the city manager, tangible goals, is good. I know that question came up earlier today about, the tangibility metrics of our education system. So for e-bikes, and whenever I talk about things in the cities, we want to be able to score things in some sort of method that makes you can reproduce that and say, yeah, we are being successful, or we're not being successful. So that is coming back to council, I believe, in the beginning of the year, because of contract amendment. We only directed the city attorney to come back with amendments to that. So that leaves me to, I believe, let's see, vector control district real quick. We have these different districts: water board, water district, trash district, vector control district, and we get to assign someone to the vector control district.
Jesus fucking
you guys get to vote on the vector control, and we assign someone to that. Mary Drummer, she's very well qualified. And when you guys call the vector control district, you get a response, and that's separate out from LA County or City of Redondo Beach. It's its own district, like it's like a water district. So the last thing I got coming up here is, let's see here. We've got Christmas tree recycling, went over that. City Hall is closed starting Thursday and opening back up again on Tuesday, January 3rd. And let's see here. If anyone else has any events coming up that they want to talk about, like I said, tomorrow night we're having menorah lighting. Come on down for that at 5:30, City Council at the City Hall. If anyone else has anything else to say, raise your hands or unmute yourself, put it in the chat or online. We have, I don't think we have really too many other events happening in Riviera Village or anywhere else in the city, but if there's no one here that has anything else to say or at events, then I will see you all next month. Next month, like I said, we're going to go over all of the items on the election. So we have a big election coming up in March. We fought for that, right? I'll give you the history on that. But yeah, no one got everything. So thank you guys very much for your time. I will see you in January. January in person is January, let's see here, January 14th, I believe, Saturday the 14th. And then a week or two thereafter will be the online meeting that I'll have. So I will bid everyone a happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, happy New Year. And hopefully everyone is nice and safe and stays warm. Enjoy the holiday lights, and I will see you in 2023. Thank you.